Dear Hoyt, and welcome back, my fellow Uncoot Americans. I am Sets, and today's star fellow Uncoot American is Canada's own Lily of the Mohawk, Saint Kateri Tekakwitha. Forgive me if I said that wrong. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, there are American saints, and in this case, a Native American saint. Many native tribes like the Algonquin and the Mohawk would adopt, join, and marry to blend their communities on a regular basis. But then there was a huge rise in these peaceful practices. And this sudden spike of alliances were due to the rampant fur trade wars and diseases brought in by the European invaders of the 1600s. In 1657, Tekakwitha, her name meaning she who bumps into things, was born in this area known today as Auriesville, New York. Is that an endearing name, by the way? I mean, it sounds cute and then it sounds like, wait, what? So, you know what? Let me know down in the comments. Keep it respectful as always, people. And do not forget to like and subscribe while you're down there. Thank you. She was born a princess to Chief Kinarankwa. Forgive me if I say these names wrong, by the way. And Kateri grew up among many different languages, cultures, and religions, including the Europeans. When Kateri was only 4, her first village had a smallpox outbreak, and her brother and some immediate family members were dead. She was left with major scars and permanently damaged health of her own, along with poor eyesight. She was later adopted in by her Mohawk chieftain uncle and aunt, whom taught her the ways of cultivation, fur trade, along with processing and cooking of animals and plants for food, clothes, and materials. But this too was shortly lived, due to her second village being attacked by European fur traders. The Mohawks were forced to retreat to the woods, only surrender by means of converting to Catholicism during mid-Spanish Inquisition. Go watch my other videos, then you'll understand the Spanish Inquisition. Because if you didn't convert, then you were tortured until death or complete conversion of one's entire life and cultural practices. Before and even during these attacks, Kateri's uncle forbade her to speak to the Catholics, and the entire Mohawk nation collectively kept a hostile attitude toward the Catholics. Gee, I wonder why. But then again, between the Mohawk women and the missionaries, the wounded and the sick were taken care of. Probably wouldn't be any wounded if there was no war, but hey, however the records want to show it, okay? Kateri worked alongside the Jesuit missionaries during all of this, and it was at this time Kateri had become Catholic herself. Her uncle wanted her to marry one of the other uncles of the tribe, but Kateri said no and wished to continue this newfound faith. And in 1676, Kateri turned 20. She was baptized on Easter and took the name Kateri after Saint Catherine, meaning pure. She wanted to know more about the community, except the Catholics accused her of witchcraft due to her indigenous ways, and then her own community turned her away because they thought that she betrayed them to the Europeans. How dare a woman want to coexist in this world? How terrifying. Anywho, moving on. After several months of this abuse and ridicule, she followed the advice of the missionaries and moved to a Jesuit village called Kanuaki. Forgive me if I said that wrong. A place of many other converted Native Americans just outside Montreal. She found her mother's cousin and lived with her in the same longhouse among the peaceful community. They practiced European modern religion but held on to old indigenous ways simultaneously. It was living here that she met fellow Native American from the Oneida tribe, Marie Teresa. That is the only name I could find of her, her converted name. They both followed a priest named Claude, forgive me, Chauchateri? Charcuterie board? I have no idea how to say this guy's name. Forgive me. He was a Frenchman brother seeking to convert more natives to Catholicism. He became both women's constant friend and spiritual advisor. Before I continue this little rant, Kateri was recording as being a devout virgin. But anywho, he not only taught them about religious practices such as fasting, but also self-mortification, which is not only when you physically destroy yourself, but you can emotionally deny yourself. It is an act of penance that somehow brings you closer to God. As I grew up Catholic, and I still don't understand how that was ever a thing. This guy was able to get a couple of native women to self-harm, self-loathe, in order to please his God. I mean, one of these women was a pretty princess, now scarred and abandoned by life's fun series of unfortunate events. Yeah, there's no taking advantage of vulnerable people there. No, not at all. Kateri took these self-punishments to such extremes that Claude himself had to stop her a few times. Kateri and Marie learned about nuns after a while, and Kateri begged to become one. Claude was so proud of her that he used Kateri as a model for his mission of New France for all conversions of the natives. The year 1680, her self-inflicted abuses finally took a toll on her already ill body from the childhood smallpox I spoke of earlier. At a mere 24 years old, Kateri had died with her last words, Jesus Konarakwe, meaning, Jesus, I love you. But just before death had taken her, her skin, the scars from her smallpox, suddenly vanished, and a glow came from her beautiful, radiant face, giving her a sign of sainthood. Or at least that was the story that was given for her. And she was buried at St. Francis Xavier Mission Catholic Church, Kanawaki. She was also honored with many chapels, beginning with the national St. Kateri Takakwitha Shrine in the Mohawk territory of Quebec, Canada. And on this saddened note, I am done for today. You all know how this works, darlings. Grab thy vices for the day. You know, I understand the feel for wanting to submerge oneself into religious beliefs, especially as a converter. You even feel like you have to double down on whatever practices that you chose in order to feel equal those born of that faith. Conversion alone should actually be enough. To live spiritually with all your heart, but don't allow your newfound beliefs to do life's common sense thinking for you. With this in mind, Slanche, to Saint Kateri Takakwitha, patron saint of caring of creation, ecology, and native lives. And an extra slanche to the true victims of the time, the poor beavers of the fur trades. Oh, there's famous oil portraits of that. My goodness. The poor beavers. Slanche to the beavers. Slan.